a time when I used to be so much into podcasts, but then I become overwhelmed by so many podcasts.
You don't need loads of them. You only need to listen to this one,
Just
see?
to this one.
Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 222. And if you are listening on the day of release globally, like I know many of you do, it's the 22nd of November. So Pete and I are going to be recording the Christmas special soon. So Pete, hopefully you'll get a new jumper this year and not just wear your girlfriend's again.
Well, I'm probably a bit bigger actually, so I'll have another go.
It'll be even tighter this year then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's how to gauge it. I'll wear it once a year and see if what I've been doing has been worth it.
But then you'll stretch it for Sean, won't you? You know.
It's all right. She can cope with that.
Okay. Right. So anyway, well, I've just mentioned Pete. We've just had a little bit of patter there. But how are you doing, Peter Lant in Bath? Are you okay?
Top banter you'll find is what it's called.
Top
but there you go. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah. Got a nice long
Excellent.
walk in yesterday. It was lush and sunny. We've just been like Daniel's just been saying, our esteemed guest who we don't know who it is yet, has just been saying about the weather and just enjoying it and all that. And I went out for 5.5 hours with the boy yesterday, did a 15-mile walk because we won't be doing that like for much over the winter. So yeah, it was amazing. It was really good.
Yeah. I mean, as we're recording, clocks change at the weekend, don't they? And all the rest of it. So yeah, everything's gonna change a bit. But yeah, before we start, I will just quickly say, and this will lead into this conversation actually. Anyway, I'll tell you what, we'll say hello to our guest first of all before I do this bit. So we are joined today. I'll give a little brief intro, and then once we get going, he will kind of introduce himself and we'll learn a lot more about him. But we are joined by Daniel Vintila, and I can say that on episode 221, he is our very first Romanian guest. So he's just, excellent. By way of Italy. So Romanian by way of Italy, we'll say.
And
go on, Pete, go on.
And he also invented the Romanian deadlift as well, didn't he?
That's me up.
There you go. You heard it here first.
So, Daniel is a coach. He's a Strongfirst Elite Instructor, which I know we've spoke about this before. That means he holds all 4 Strongfirst certifications, the kettlebell level 1 and level 2, the bodyweight and the barbell certification. And he is most recently now a competitive powerlifter and strongman, and both at the same time as well, which is great. So we're going to kind of talk to Daniel in a minute, but which is going to lead us into that. It was very sad, obviously. I think I put a post out yesterday and I've had lots of comments on it from people all over the world, really. I hadn't really realized how much this man would have been, maybe recognized in America, in Canada. But Jeff Capes passed away yesterday as we're recording this. And he was a 2 times world's strongest man, 3 times Europe's strongest man, 2 times Commonwealth gold medalist in the shot put. And we actually spoke to Sue Collins a few weeks back, and she was at the Commonwealth Games in 1974 and 78. And they were the 2 Commonwealth Games that Jeff Capes won the gold at in shot put. And we did mention him on the podcast, actually, that he was sat on the plane eating all the food on the way home.
in first class with his feet up.
In first class, yeah. He was 3 different Olympic Games doing the shot put. He was a 6 times Highland Games world champion. And, just one of them, certainly growing up in England in the 80s, one of the most recognizable. He kind of transcended sport. He was one of these people who was on, your Saturday evening TV, things like, Question of Sport or Generation Game, or kind of like Frank Bruno in this country. He was on cereal packets and TV adverts and everything. So yeah,
he was also because I remember like when your dad would ask you to help him lift something or something, you go, I'm not bloody Jeff Capes, am I? He was that person, wasn't he, who you'd allude to when you were talking about anything strength wise. He was the guy.
and he used to keep budgerigars and stuff, I know as well, and he was quite well known. No, he was really quite well. I've seen quite a few posts from people because he was really avid, kind of kept budgies and stuff. Quite famous for that in that way as well. So no, really sad. But yeah, and yeah, so R.I.P. Jeff Capes. Which kind of leads us into, not yet, but we'll get on to some strongman stuff in a bit. But Daniel, I mean, first of all, welcome and thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today. You are based up in Cumbria is it called Barrow-in-Furness?
Yeah, Barrow-in-Furness, yeah.
Barrow-in-Furness in Cumbria. And like I said, Romanian via way of Italy. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself to begin with in terms of life growing up, exercise, sport, you know, kind of all that kind of stuff, and we can kind of talk as we go and ask questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, definitely. As you mentioned, yeah, I was born in Romania, and pretty much I've been playing football like every other kid. You know, kids play a lot of football as a mean of socializing and just, you know, learning how to I don't know how to say it, you know, just be part of a community, you know, of people. As a kid, it's good to be part of something. That's how I see it, you know. It's just good to grow by knowing the values, you know, of team play and just learning how to work with other kids, you know. And I did that for a couple of years since I was 6 up until actually later on in Italy, which I stopped because I got ill, but I'll get to that as well. But then at 14, my parents moved to Italy for work. And then they just decided to stay there, just, you know, for a better life, as a lot of people do. It's very common from Romanians actually to go from Romania to Italy, Spain, and England, and now even more countries, you know. So yeah, basically, I become the person that I am mainly in Italy because I was too young in Romania, you know, and I didn't do many sports, if I'm honest, after that. I was not a very athletic person, actually, probably the opposite of it. Very, you know, like small shoulders, very like nothing would say athletic about me. So I didn't like school. I disliked anything about school, if I'm honest, in Italy, but school in general, not just Italy. And I started working on casinos on cruise ships when I was 19. So that's kind of what I started training a little bit, because you don't have much to do, you know, except for working, visiting places. And you have gyms. You have 2 gyms. You have one for the crew, one for the guests. So, you know, you just hang out with some friends, you go to the gym, and that's how everything started, just training on a cruise ship, basically.
Because presumably, like when you're working in the casino on the cruise ship, that's, I mean, I don't know. I know like in somewhere like Las Vegas, the casinos are going 24 hours a day. But in the cruise ship, is it more of a kind of thing that people did in the evening? So you had time in the day to fill, as it were?
Yeah, so basically when you visit a port, you can't be open in the port because they have regulations, so only at sea. So if you'd be in a port, you have the whole day off up until the evening when you sail again. And then we would just go to the gym, go visit outside, you know. You do get to see a lot of the world as well. You get to meet a lot of great people, you know, from all over the world. And some of them just like to gym. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to come to the gym and see, you know, what's all about. There were a lot of girls around the cruise ship, so you want to kind of try and work out and, you know, and try and impress one or two.
Because I suppose it's funny because I actually watched Casino, the film, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and I hope it wasn't like that, because that's pretty brutal. But anyway, like you say, I've never been on a cruise, and the idea of it, like, I don't know, I just don't like it because you're stuck on a boat. But there's 2 ways to go, isn't there? You can eat loads, or you can go to the gym, and that's pretty much like, it's one or the other, isn't it?
You'd be surprised though. It feels nothing like a boat, or, you know, it's a very big ship. You can't actually understand how big it is if you have never been on one. And I was lucky enough to make it on the biggest in the world, which they belong to Royal Caribbean, and it's around 7,000 passengers, 8,000 passengers, and 2,500 crew. So you have almost 10,000 people on board. Yeah, and it's like a shopping mall.
I was going to say it's like a town, really, isn't it? It's not, yeah. It's like and all the different levels and everything, and they have theaters and cinemas and gyms and restaurants and
They
bars.
have
Everything, yeah,
ice rinks, some of them. They have an aqua theater with
yeah,
like pool and divers and everything. They have like 20 restaurants. They have a lot. They have a lot more than some towns have.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Wow.
so
So
that's
this was
amazing.
so. What years then were you working? You said from 19, I think you started. And were
Yes.
you a croupier? Is that what you were at the?
Yes, yes. So that's how I
Yeah,
started.
yeah,
So I was 19. That would be what, 14 years ago. And I did that for around 9 years.
yeah.
And in all this time, that's kind of when I was learning about, again, learning about going to the gym and about the physical strength culture a little bit.
Mm,
Starting pretty much, like a gym bro, like everybody does. I think most of the people start like a gym bro, especially in your 20s.
yeah.
Just go there, chest and triceps every day,
Mm,
no legs,
yeah.
stuff like that, regular stuff.
Okay, and then what age were you when? I mean, how many years did you spend? Because I'm working out. I'm just did the maths quickly. Are you 33 at the moment?
So I'll be 33 in January, yeah.
33 in January. Okay, so 32, 33 in January. So you started on the ships at 19. How many years did you do on the ships working like that?
So I worked for the Italian company for 3 years. Then I worked a year in Malta. That's where I got even more serious about training. And then I did around 5, 6 years for Royal Caribbean. So
Mm,
yeah, pretty much around 10 years of casino life,
yeah.
with 1 year working in Malta. And then in Malta, when I moved there, because I lived on my own, again, I was working in a casino. That's what I actually got into training. So
Mm,
it became a bit of an obsession.
mm,
Like I was a big fan of bodybuilding.com, and I would take all my information from there. I would train in a
yeah.
hotel gym with another colleague of mine, and we were just crazy about buying, all the supplements. I was buying a Ronnie Coleman protein. It was strawberry. It tasted horrible, but that's just what it was. You couldn't find anything that I really liked, and we just trained in a hotel gym, yeah, for the longest time, and the results were quite good. We're both happy, but then I decided to go on the ships again. And I just need a change of career. I haven't been much of a person that would like to stay in one place for too long.
Mm,
And after that, that's when I actually start getting into sport even more. So being on Royal Caribbean, you would work 7 months on the ship, and then 2, 3 months at home. Um, so I started running Spartan races as a mean of doing holidays all over Europe, basically.
mm. So we
So
spoke about Spartan racing probably a little while ago now when we had Claire Rafferty on, which was episode 215. So about 6 weeks ago, and she was heavily involved in High Rocks as a global High Rocks master trainer. And I think when we spoke there, I'd done some research, and I think Spartan races started about 20 years ago, something like that. Obviously, they started. I can't remember the guy's name in America, the one who started them, but yeah. So about 20 years ago. So you were doing Spartan races, but all over Europe,
yeah,
basically. Yeah.
so I would come home, I would save some money on the ship, and then I would just try to. I mean, on the ship, I'll be training for a Spartan race without actually running on a trail. I was just running the treadmills and doing some kettlebell work and doing a lot of like keep my heart rate up, basically. And one day I decided, okay, I'm going to sign up and go to Poland. I never been to Poland, had no idea where Poland is. Although I did travel a lot, but mainly around the seas.
Hmm.
And I signed up as my first Spartan race at a Beast. I'm not sure if you know the distances. The
Yeah, can
Beast is
you
one of the longest.
yeah, just for people, because again, it's this old assumed knowledge thing. I'm sure there's lots of people listening who don't know what a Spartan race is. Can you just give us a quick kind of a minute kind of rundown on what is a Spartan race, and then what is you just mentioned it's a Spartan Beast, which is a particular distance of Spartan race, I presume. But yeah, can you just give us a little rundown on that, just for the listeners?
So, as a type of sport, it's an obstacle course racing. Initially started by being run in nature. You'd go mountains, mainly, riding on ski slopes, like up rather than down. And then every 1 to 2 kilometers, you have obstacles. And then you have like, Atlas stones, monkey bars, water, all sorts of obstacles, you know, and it's various distances. You can have a sprint, which is on the average of 5K. You can have a super, which on the average is 11 to 12K, sometimes 15. And a beast, which goes from 19 up to 27K. I even had a 27K. So basically, you have to run all those distances. Usually, as I said, before it used to be in the mountains. That's why they would always choose a mountain location. But now they do them all over stadiums, by the sea, Dubai, whatever, all over the world.
Mm.
So
Yeah, 'cause
yeah,
I've
you
got
can
a
sign
member
up
at
to
the
whichever you
gym.
want. Sorry?
Yeah, and I was just saying, because I've got a member at the gym who signed up for one like next May, and we've been looking recently at what you need to do. And yeah, one of the things is, you know, pick up an Atlas stone and take it somewhere. You know, there's a thing where you have to throw a spear through a target, or, you know, jumping over, you know, fire and monkey bars and all that kind of stuff, isn't it? So it really kind of tests you in lots of ways. So, and you said the first one you did, you signed up for a beast, which was this kind of
Yes.
19 to 27K.
So that was actually around 27K, my first ever. I was not even a runner or anything like that. But in my head, thinking, 5K is a bit short. I can finish it like that. Super, whatever. Let me do a beast all the way in Poland, up on the tallest mountain they have. Let's just do it. So that was awful. It was terrible. I regret that decision. I think about it. It took me forever. It took me, I think, around probably 6 hours and a half. I've never had such cramps in my life. I never wanted just to like sit down and not move for a couple of days during the race because it was so painful. But I finished it. I got my medal because you always get a medal, which the medals are really cool, like really, really, really cool, and a finisher t-shirt. So when I went home, funny story, right? I go home in Italy, and my mom, when she saw me, how crippled I was on the airport because the cramps really crippled me for a couple of days, she got so mad at me, like really mad, like, oh, you're going in these places just to kill yourself, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she was so mad. We haven't spoken for a couple of days or weeks. Actually, we had like, you know, quite a big fight because you don't understand, you know. And then I said, listen, I'm going to sign up to another one. I think I just did that maybe to prove a point that they are fun, actually, which I don't know why I thought they were fun when I hated every minute of it. But I said, okay, I'm going to Austria. And this time, because running a beast was not enough, I'm going to do a trifecta. So trifecta means you do all 3 distances in one weekend. Again, I was not a runner. I was not anything crazy about distances, but I just loved it somehow. And I said, okay, let's go to Austria by car. I signed up for a trifecta, and you're going to see how fun it is. She's like, okay, fine.
What, and you were going to take your mum with you, were you?
Yeah. So I took my
okay.
mom and my dad, and we went to Austria by car, which was quite nice. And yeah, so you can sign up for a trifecta during a weekend, right? It means in the morning you run maybe a sprint, then as soon as you finish a sprint, an hour later you do a super or a beast, and next day you do whatever distance you haven't run on the first day. So safe to say, she was not really impressed by me running 2 races in a day, because again, when I finished, I was dead. I was tired, but I had a problem with my heel. I don't know, something was hurting really bad. So next day I had to do another race. It took me 8 hours and a half to finish that because I just walked the whole distance, around 20K.
So that must have been the last day. So on the second day, that was the beast that you did on the set. So you did like the 5K and the approximately 10K.
Yeah.
On the Saturday maybe, and then you had to follow that with a beast on the Sunday. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know why I did it. I just said it's a good idea. I finished it, but then having like 4 medals around your neck, which you get 1 for each plus 1 that kind of puts them all together, it's very satisfying, and it gives you a sense of accomplishment in a way. So all the pain and all the tears and all the times you want to quit, they kind of go away. So since then, my mom loved it. After that, she was like, you know what, this is actually great, you know, seeing you know, that you enjoy it. So we started doing this very often after that. Every time I'll be home from a cruise, I would go and do 2 or 3. I did Andorra, I did Romania, I did Italy, and various places. Really, really cool.
And did you take your mum with you to many of them after that?
Most of them, yes. And you know what? Funny thing is, every time I would have a long break in between, she would be like, "So when are we going again to do one?" You know, and I was like, "Oh, now you want to go? Let's go. I really enjoy it. I like it." She loves it's a bit of a festival vibe, you know. There's music, there's drinks, there's people, you know, running. The finish line has a lot of obstacles, so you actually get to see a lot of people failing and succeeding at the same time. And it's a lot of fun, you know, and I really love that period. The only problem was they did get quite expensive. They are expensive to run. So slowly, I just give up because, you know, you spend around 300-400 quid just to go for a weekend, you know, so it adds up. But it was nice. It was really nice. But again, I was never a runner. I just enjoyed. I think what I enjoyed was getting a medal, if I'm honest. Because I knew I could never win a first place in anything. But a last place in a Spartan race would still give me a medal. So, you know, I think that's satisfying for a lot of people. It's good enough.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think we had this in the High Rocks conversation, was just you're doing it as a challenge for yourself. You're not really, you know, worried, you know, only one person can win and there's thousands of people doing it. So, you know, it's more about the personal achievement.
Mark Lewis talks about that a lot as well, doesn't he? He's like, he just wants to be better than average. And I mean, like, better than average, just doing a Spartan race makes you better than average. You don't even have to be, you can come last in a Spartan race and you're still better than average on like, not with the people in the race, but with everyone else. So, so did you do more than one trifecta? Or just
I
one?
did, after the first trifecta that I did, every weekend that I did was a trifecta. So I think I did around 4 or 5.
Because here's what I was going to say is, here's where you went wrong in that first one, right? No, but because in my head, I'd do the 5K as a warm-up and then do the beast and then do the middle one the next day. But I mean, I don't know anything about it, right? So did you change it up as you went through?
No, you just have to go, you go as they fix it, you know, it's like whatever they organize. So sometimes you do, for example, sometimes you do a super, then you do a sprint, then you do a beast. Sometimes you do a beast, then a sprint, then a super next day. It depends on the organizers. Like in Andorra, which was another one very painful with plenty of cramps, you had a beast and then a sprint and next day a super. So yeah, it's not pleasant waking up the next day when you can't even get out of bed and having to run another 15K up a ski slope, which you're looking at it and you're like, oh my God. No,
and you have to pay for this.
And you also have to pay for it, right? How stupid is that?
Oh dear. Right. So okay. So the Spartan races, then it sounds like, if I, again, doing my maths, if you started approximately on the cruise ships at 19 and you were there for 9 or 10 years, but then you were doing these when you were coming off of the cruise ships, weren't you? So like you said, you work sort of 6-7 months, then you have 2 or 3 months off. So you were doing this while you were on the cruise ship. So what happened after Spartan races? You said that obviously, you know, you've been doing them for quite a long time. You've done a lot of them. They got expensive. So when you kind of decided to rein back the sort of Spartan racing, did you replace it with anything? Did something else come in at that point where you thought, right, now I'm going to switch my attention to this, you know, something different? What was that?
So, all right, somehow thinking about it now, I only choose stuff that I really sucked at, right? Like running, I chose running. And then I said, what's the next best thing to do? Calisthenics. It was coming up as a new trend, whatever. And on the ship, you know, I had plenty of room to do that. So for around 2 years or so, I got into calisthenics big time, you know. So I would be one of these guys. Was that a barbell? No, thank you very much. Here I am. I need a monkey bar and I need a floor so I can do, you know, my push-ups and whatever. So I got into doing calisthenics for a while, which again was quite satisfying. But somehow I just lost it. It was not my passion. I think it was something, again, that I thought was hard, and I thought was nice to achieve certain things, but that just was not my thing, you know. So I did calisthenics for 2 years or so, again on the ship, and then I got into a bit of more bodybuilding because my body already was developing a bit, and I was like, you know what, maybe I can actually put on a bit of muscle. So me and a friend of mine on the cruise ship, believe it or not, being in America, like the supplement stores, like they are massive, full of stuff. So we'd go to Miami or wherever, and we go to what's called GNC. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. They have like this massive receipts when you buy something, it's like huge.
Yeah.
And would buy like $200-300 worth of stuff pretty much once a month.
Mm.
And
So when you were doing the calisthenics, were you a lot lighter and more slim and more lean and more kind of streamlined when you were doing that? If you were doing lots of things like pull-ups and press-ups and dips and all this, did you kind of, your body weight was quite tight, I'd imagine?
yeah, looking back, it's a massive difference. Like now I'm 90 kilos. There I used to be 66, 67.
Mm.
That's kind of my average that I've been most of my life, just below 70 kilos, and now I'm like 90. So obviously a massive difference. I never really thought about it much, you know, I'm lean or I'm like heavy or I'm whatever. It was more about, can I do this? Can I do that? You know, usually when you move to a certain sport or activity, whatever, you just think, okay, can I do what this sport requires or not? And then you find out if you're actually, you know, built for it or not.
So, but with the calisthenics, you obviously we'll talk. And this is kind of going out of sync, I suppose. Out of what's the ladder?
Chronological order.
Chronological order. But you did the SFB, the body weight certification with Strongfirst, which obviously is kind of like pull ups. It's pistol squat. It's one arm, one leg press up, and that sort of thing. So, with your calisthenics background, when you would have been doing a lot of that kind of stuff, did you find the body weight certification fairly, you know, fairly comfortable, fairly easy to achieve?
Definitely was not very challenging. I can't say it was very, very challenging because some elements I already was familiar with them, you know. So I was not going into uncharted territory. But learning from the people from Strongfirst how to actually perform those makes a huge difference, right? So you can be somebody who can do certain things or be close to achieving them, but then you know how the weekend goes, right? They teach you everything and they want to see you succeeding at them. So that definitely made a massive difference the way they explained it and to be able to perform it even better than what I thought I can do, you know? But yeah, definitely helps when you come to a certification, regardless of what you do, having a bit of a play with that, you know, matter like a barbell or body weight or kettlebell definitely helps a lot.
Yeah, excellent. So calisthenics, you were working on that and you were doing that, and like you said, spending a small fortune in GNC and getting all your supplements. And then what kind of happened after that?
So yeah, as I said, we're starting to do more bodybuilding. I had a friend that he was just too tall to do anything that was calisthenics related. Because, you know, usually, again, you are either built for something or you can't really force your way into it, you know? So we said, okay, let's just do weights then. So we started doing weights for a while. And we did try to build, you know, some squats and some bench and whatever, but we just kind of decided just let's be bodybuilders and see what we can achieve just by training like bodybuilders, you know? And we did that for another probably year and a half or two. Again, on the cruise ship. So every time we'd be on the ship, we'd just be training as hard as we can. And just, you know, again, learn as much as we can about bodybuilding, you know, superset, tricep, drop set, all the terminology that the sport has. And we got decent at it, but again, I found out I'm not really made to look muscular or to look big or whatever. So that kind of put me off, and I was like, you know what, this is another thing that I'm not really good at. I didn't want to achieve anything great, you know, like I knew I wouldn't be a competitive bodybuilder, like how many can actually achieve that. But then I think comes a point where you just decide, you know, how you want to move on with that. Can you improve a lot? Can you not? So I just was not improving much. Although I was spending a fortune on supplements, you know, didn't make much of a difference just on my bank account, and that was it.
There's a great lesson in that, because obviously, I mean, you see like influencers and stuff all over the internet, don't you? Who've got like genetics and they might be on something or whatever, and all of this sort of stuff. So they're lean and they look great and all of that. And it's one of those things you could, depending on your body type and your genetics and all of that sort of stuff, you could end up trying to look like that and getting to a point and then looking weird or looking, you know what I mean? Just like not looking like they do, but looking like you do if you try to get like that. But if everyone's got a different shape. So like if I got a 6-pack and everything, I'd just be like super skinny because I've got a tiny frame, you know, and I've tried in the past and I ended up too thin because the 6-pack doesn't show until you can see through me, sort of thing. So I gave up on that. And it's just interesting. It's a good lesson for people of like, you know, I mean, you've done it in a great way and just tried lots and lots and lots of different things just to see what you're good at. And then we know what you're good at anyway, because we'll be talking about that in a bit. And you are built for that as well. You're built for the thing that we'll end up talking about. Because I've met you and I know how tall you are and how wide you are. It's perfect. No, it's just a good lesson for people listening, that I think, of like, to figure out what you want. You can dabble in lots and lots of different things and you might have come across something, but what you think you want might not always be what you actually want. You know, and it's a good learning journey.
I think it's good for people to realize at a certain point that maybe that's not the way they should be going. There are a lot of ways, you know.
Yeah.
Again, in my view, when I was younger, I thought, okay, you only have a couple of ways. You go either body weight or bodybuilding. You know, I was not even accustomed to powerlifting or strongman or anything. And that's what most people know. But I think slowly, you need to always approach training and everything with an open mind and see what other ways are there? What can I try? So to me, it was always about trying different stuff and see what I can progress at, you know, what can give me satisfaction. And I mean, come on, like, do you want to spend so many hours and so much money, everything, just to be frustrated because, you know, you don't look like that, you don't manage to lift this, you don't, like, it needs to you know, bring you something, like some sort of joy in your life. You know, it's too many people are let's call it miserable. They try to achieve certain things that maybe they just are not made for that.
And I think that's because that's what I mean. Dan John talks about that a lot from in children, and it's not really any different, but exposing them to lots and lots of different sports and activities, and then seeing what they either naturally gravitate towards or what they're good at or what they enjoy. And I think it's kind of like something that's valuable for all adults as well, to just almost be, like you say, childlike with it and just try as much stuff as you can. Don't care if you're good at it or not, and just see what you enjoy and what you feel you can stick at and what you can progress with and what kind of suits you, your body, your motivation, your mentality, you know. So this bodybuilding, then you tried this for, like you say, kind of 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah,
more seriously. Realized that it wasn't maybe the right thing for you long term. Although all this stuff, you know, nothing's a failure, nothing's a waste of time, because it's kind of helped you and you've learned so much from it. So where did you go to next? What was the next port of call?
So I think we're already at the point where I decided to stop going on ships anymore, you know. So I went home back to Italy. At this point, my type of training was a bit of okay, let's call it the heat training. Okay, I was hundreds of reps, very quick. I was following, I'm not sure if you guys know, her name is Hannah Eden. She's a big red hair woman from America. She used to be very intense with everything. And she had, you know, rowers, kettlebells, squats, everything together. And I kind of loved that a little bit. So I go home, but I didn't want to do that anymore. So I was training in a CrossFit gym. I was training in a CrossFit gym, but not doing CrossFit. I think CrossFit is one of the few things I actually didn't try. I think it's the Olympic lifting that I know, again, I kind of know that would give me a hard time to learn that. My mobility is not the best, you know.
But if you're born in Romania, like, you're built for it, right?
You think so? You think so?
Are you sure? Are you sure you weren't born in Scotland or something? Is that like
most likely? So this is what I actually started to be interested in kettlebells. So here we are around 5-6 years ago. More or less, I think it's 5 years. I think I've been in Strongfirst around 4 or 5 years now. So that's what I started to become interested in kettlebells. And in these CrossFit gyms, and I asked this coach, like, listen, I really like a kettlebell, you know, and can you actually become a coach who only coaches this? Like, is that like a thing? I didn't know. He's like, you know what? Funny you asked that. A couple of weeks ago, we had a guy that came here to do a CrossFit seminar, but he's actually this strong something kettlebell instructor. You know, I'm not sure exactly the name, but I can ask for you. And if you're interested, you can go and you know, find out more. And I was like, you know what? I would be interested in that. So a couple of days later, he tells me about Strongfirst. You know, so this is where my first introduction to Strongfirst happens. I go looking online. I have a look at this thing with all those international certifications, and I was like, okay, that's unusual. You know, usually if I'm in Italy, I want to go to Italy, but then I see they have, you know, everywhere. So that's kind of my first introduction to Strongfirst, you know, and that's where I started learning more about who they are and what they do.
So which order did you do the 4 certifications in then?
So I think it was SFG1, which I did in Hungary. I went
That
exactly.
was that with Peter Lakatos, is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So I went there and I did in Hungary that one. Then I think I did SFL, which we did in Oxford.
Yeah.
With Fabio and Claire and everybody else. And then SFB and then SFG2.
Yeah. Excellent.
SFB at your gym and then SFG2 in Italy. That's another thing that I like about Strongfirst, just like the Spartan races. Go and do a certification, whatever you want, you know, it's just amazing.
Excellent. So you did the SFB at mine, and was that with Fabio as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then the SFG2 in Italy, I take it that was with Fabio as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Three out of 4 are with Fabio, so.
I was going to say the SFL was Fabio as well, because he came across, that was during COVID, and he lived over here for 2 weeks, didn't he? Because he had a bubble and all that sort of caper here.
And who did you do the SFG1 with then? With Peter Lakatos.
Sorry,
Peter, that was in Hungary. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so obviously you deep dived into the Strongfirst methodology, the Strongfirst system, the 4 different certifications. You achieved your elite rank, which is really you know, hard to get, you know, and to maintain those 4 certifications and pass all the tests and all the rest of it. And then you moved obviously into at some stage more of an interest in, I mean, was it powerlifting that you competed in first? Was that
No, it was Strongman first and then
okay, so strongman and powerlifting, you kind of moved into this realm now. So how long ago was it, or how many years have you been, when was your first kind of strongman comp and your first powerlifting comp?
It's not that long ago, actually. This is my first year when I'm doing everything. So I did obviously all of them are amateurs, obviously, an amateur comp last year, and I didn't do very well. As most things I do the first time, I never do very well. But the thing is, I like to keep trying and see if I can actually do better, you know. I think I came around last out of 10 people, I think. So I came around last, and but then you know what? I was like, oh, that was really fun. You know, I would like to try that again. So then I started to kind of research. I didn't know that so many gyms organize these things. You know, I didn't know it was a thing. That's why. So being 33 almost, I've only started competing and doing these things just last year, because I didn't know it was a thing, that some gyms would do a powerlifting comp or they would do a strongman thing, and you can actually do it without being a professional in that sport. So that's kind of what I love, you know, you can just go there, sign up, and just go and do your best, you know.
And what is it that you are, because obviously the powerlifting very closely mirrors the SFL, the Strongfirst certification, which is the barbell certification, which is, you know, the squat, the bench, the deadlift, and obviously the overhead press as well. But that kind of matches that kind of ties in with that. But what was your introduction to kind of strongman training? What kind of made you think, hang on, I want to give this a go? Or what kind of piqued the interest or made you think, I'll actually give this a go?
Honestly, I have no idea. It was just I just love strength in general. So, you know, sometimes you just do something, you don't know why you did it, but then you are like, you know what, I'm glad I did that.
Mm.
That's kind of what happened there. You know, I was like, okay, this is a sport of strength. I train strength mainly. So let me go and do a competition where, you know, your rank is based on your strength.
Mm.
And that's kind of how, you know, you see the events, and then I do my best. I train in my home gym. I do my best to have, you know, whatever I need to prepare for that event. And you just, you know, then see, okay, well, okay, I'm not far off that weight. I can do that. And then you just, you know, go ahead with it.
So do you, out of the two, out of powerlifting and strongman, because you've got just for people listening, so the guest we had on last week, sorry, John Gibb, who was Highland Wolf Strength, the day before he came on with us, he had won Britain's Strongest Stone Lifter 2024, and that very same day, Daniel, you competed up in Chaos Gym, I think, in Preston, wasn't it? And you podiumed in second place in a strongman comp on that same day, didn't you? That John won the. So what were the events? Because there's usually about 5 events, isn't there, in a kind of a strongman comp? What events did you have to do to take that second place?
So we had log press, which that's
Yeah.
like a staple exercise in strongman. So
Mm.
we had reps 4 reps in a minute. For our category, it was only 67.5.
Mm.
Managed 9. Then we had 160 kilogram deadlifts 4 reps in a minute. Again, as we talked before, managed 18. Then we had 100 kilogram sandbag to shoulder in 1 minute. That one, for example, I only trained once that event because I only just bought the bag like a few days before, and I only did 1 rep to the shoulder to make sure I can lift it, to do 1 rep in comp. So I managed 6.
Wow.
Yeah, in a minute, which I was very happy about. And
Yeah.
then we had a farmer's race for 30 meters, a farmer's carry race, 90 kilogram per hand. I came in second by a half a second on the first.
Yeah.
And then we had a loading medley with sandbags.
Yeah.
So it was fun. I love sandbags. Sandbags, it's another thing. Again, I never knew I would love sandbags. I just put my hands on them. I just love it. It's just a lot of the things that happen in my training is just by being open and trying stuff. And I think most people should do that. People shouldn't fall in love with something. You know, people should be open to new ways of training or new equipment, because you never know what your next, let's call it, love might be, you know.
Excellent. And do you have a preference to either, because powerlifting is like we said, it's squat, bench, deadlift, it's 3 lifts, you get 3 kind of goes, if you like, or 3 attempts at each, and your heaviest lift gets scored, and you get a powerlifting total if you add the 3 up. Do you prefer powerlifting or strongman, or do you like them both? And do you see that you will compete in both together, or do you have a preference for one over the other?
You know, whichever feels best on the day, that's the one that I like. Some day strongman can feel really hard. Some day powerlifting feels a bit hard. But
Yeah.
I like them both equally. Again, they are both sports of strength, and I just love strength in general. And I just like both equally. And again, by having like I have another competition 2 weeks from now, I'm going to Nottingham to do powerlifting. And by having something I train for, I prioritize one over the other. And that kind of keeps things interested in my training, you know, because a couple of months I train more powerlifting, a couple of months I train more strongman. So again, that keeps my training very dynamic in a certain way. And that's why I like to do both. I'm not amazing at either, but I took third on my first powerlifting competition, which I was like, okay, fine, that was great, you know. But I like both of them equally, you know. It's just, as I said, by having 2 things that I have a competition now and then another one 2 months from now, it keeps my training very dynamic, you know, and I can never get bored of it.
And I think they both obviously complement each other. You know, like you say, you're trying to get stronger, and powerlifting, being better at powerlifting is only going to help you be better at strongman, isn't it? Because especially as there's usually a deadlift or a form of deadlift in a strongman competition anyway, isn't there? And that's always there in powerlifting. And there's many of the top strong men have come from a powerlifting background, haven't they? You know, so you think like some going back as far as like, you know, Bill Kazmaier and Magnus for Magnusson, and you know, all these guys started as powerlifters and then moved into strongman. So no, it's fantastic. It's really, really good. And it's like you say, it's well, let's touch on this actually, because I think you said something there which is really important, which we have mentioned with other people before, but the kind of the wisdom of and the benefit of competing and actually setting a target that's a certain date and a certain, even going back to the Spartan races, you know, you book in for something, you pay for it, you're committed to do it, so you work towards that kind of deadline. I mean, did you find that having, like you say, a comp every maybe 3 months or so, or like you said, sometimes even quite close together, but it helps focus the mind and focus the training and helps you with discipline and that sort of thing?
I would definitely say so, because I've never had such a consistency of training since I started booking events. And I've never had to come up with so many solutions for my training and so many ways of training to try and meet a deadline. Let's say, for example, oh, my deadlift feels a bit heavy, you know, but I'm only 6 weeks away from a comp. And then I kind of have to find a solution and make it feel good, you know, either being in the gym or being outside of the gym. So you have to be a bit, let's say, creative. You have to think about, to know yourself and know your training, you know, and you just have to find a solution to make those deadlifts or whatever lift is not feeling good, to make it feel good, you know. And that kind of keeps you on your toes a little bit. You know, you can't never relax. But again, I'm not talking about a professional level, obviously. You know, I still have a job, I still have a family, I don't make a living out of competing. But as far as it goes with my own training, having a competition date set definitely helps to make the biggest progress that I've ever made in my training. You know, knowing that, okay, I'm starting at point A, and at point B, I'm going to see the results of my training. And I think that's where most people should aim at, in my opinion. They should have some sort of deadline in their training to then start all over again after that. You know, you can't just, I mean, you can obviously, but training for years and years, but not really knowing what you train for. As we say, Strongfirst, you know, if you don't know where you're going, any road will lead you there, you know. Like knowing what you train for, it definitely brings better results than just training in general. At least that's how I see it. Since I knew what I'm doing, you know, obviously helps you with your exercise selection. So it makes training even easier. It's more complicated when you don't know what you want to do than when you know what to do, you know, because, okay, powerlifting, squat, bench, deadlift, 3 accessories for each, and that's it. So definitely helps a lot to have some sort of goal, with it being set a day for a test, even if you don't compete, or set a day, like you have a lot of strongman stuff in your gym, you know, having somebody do like a mock comp or whatever to see how much they've improved. Anything like that, I think will help everybody to just feel even more accomplished in their training.
And also, you came to my gym a couple of times to do the tactical strength challenge, didn't you? So this was, I presume, this was before you did any kind of organized powerlifting meets, but that was, you know, a max deadlift, pull-ups, and then kettlebell snatches, which again helped you focus towards those 3 events, and that's what you knew you were going to do. And I think the last time you came and you did your deadlift, I think you're over 200 kilos.
I was like, I think 207.5, if I remember correctly. It was a weird
207.5.
Yeah, it was a weird
207.5. I know it was over 200. Yeah, I couldn't remember, it was about 205 or whatever. But yeah, so but you mentioned earlier that your natural body weight always used to be, you know, in the high 60s, 70 kilos, and now you're 90 kilos. And you're obviously much more dense and thick set and, you know, muscular framed now. Was that intentional through nutrition, eating, training hard to get bigger, to be stronger for strongman powerlifting, or was that kind of like a byproduct of training so hard and then eating as you felt you needed to?
It's definitely the result. It was never intentional. Just like I tell some of the people that I coach, come here, enjoy your training, enjoy being here, enjoy doing all these things, and then results will happen, wanting to lose weight, wanting to whatever achievements they want, you just have to be consistent with your training. So me getting much bigger than I usually was just a result of okay, it was just, in my opinion, was just a natural thing to happen. I was getting stronger. I had to kind of get heavier a little bit or put on more muscle because I wouldn't say I'm not necessarily, big like in fat or anything like that. But you do get bigger because you have to progress somehow. So, that's just a result of it. And I'm loving it. I've never felt better than being now at my heaviest, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's funny because I got a message off Paul a while ago because I sent him a photograph, but I posted it online as well. And James has had this as well. And he just said, yeah, form always follows function. So you get into it, because I just took a pic because I'd had a tattoo done on my back. So I took a picture and sent it to him because I did that. And I had a picture of my back that Sean took. And I didn't know it looked like, I was like, bloody hell, that looks great. so I sent it to Paul and I was like, have you seen this? Because I never see that. I mean, I do train with my top off sometimes and all that sort of stuff, but like I don't look muscly or anything like that. I still look a bit flabby and a bit like an old bloke, but it kind of surprised me. So I sent it to him, and James had that one. So you posted that thing when you were about to get in the hot tub and you had like this rippling six pack. It was like, Jesus God, like, but it's like, do you want that, or does it just happen because mine's just through consistency of lifting stuff above my head and doing pull-ups. And that's it. So like you say, when you tell your clients, it's like, I want this. And it's like, well, that's great, but just turn up. Just turn up every week and you'll get it. It'll just happen. And then when you see it, you'll start to want it, how do I maintain that? Or how do I take it further? And like you say, having a deadline is a great idea.
Yeah, I just think too many people, they become too obsessed with what the results could be or what they would want out of it, but they lose track of being on that path that leads them maybe towards that. And also you can always change your mind when you are on that path, like I had a lot of people who come like, I just want to lose some weight, I want to tone, or the usual people who want these things, but then as soon as they start getting stronger, all that kind of goes away because they're like, you know what, I love being strong. And they see their body being like, dense, harder, weighing the same or slightly more, but their clothes fitting better, and all that, oh, I just want to be thin, kind of go, you're like, no, I want to be strong, I want to be fit, it feels good to be strong, So again, it has to be a result of what you do. Everything, in my opinion, you can't just force it, to lose weight and be skinny, but without achieving something in terms of physical performance, It's just amazing to be strong.
It's funny actually, because over the summer as well, I think I might have mentioned this on a podcast a while back, but I caught a glimpse of myself walking along in my shorts with my t-shirt on in a shop window or something, and I didn't like. I was a bit flabby, I was like, "Oh, I don't like that." So I lost like 4 kilos, I think. But then I saw a video of me pressing a 36 for whatever it was, and at that time I was bigger. So I'd lost weight, but I'd also like everything felt heavier. I'd only lost 4 kilos, so I was like, right. So I started eating loads again. So I'm kind of at the thing now. I think I heard Mike Israel talking about it. Is I have a few weeks of eating a lot and then a few weeks of not eating as much, and it goes around my training. So at the minute, my volume's quite low, so I'm eating less. But as across the weeks, the volume will go up and up and up. So I'll just eat a bit more, a bit more, a bit more. So I'll put weight on, but then when it goes down again, I'll be lifting heavier but less volume, so I'll eat less again. But then it becomes like a critical point of, well, if you don't eat enough, the volume that you're doing isn't going to keep going. So but that's been like a learning process for me, because there's all these different ways out there, isn't there? But like you said earlier, know yourself, and then you know and then you figure out what works, and then you run with that for as long as.
One thing is, people like even myself, they come in my garage and they want to be much stronger, because they like when they see maybe me deadlifting, I don't know, 200 kilos, whatever, which for people who listen, it's not even that much. Okay, there's people who lift way more, but I'm just a regular person who just enjoys training, and I just like to put myself out there, and they would come, but again, they don't eat or don't do the things outside of the gym that will help them have the performance in the gym. So that's another important thing to do. You have to fuel yourself for the things you want to achieve from a training point of view. Again, people think that by eating little and training hard, they would just start losing a lot of weight all of a sudden, which we all know that's not true. So there comes the part of education that people should have and understand, okay, I want to lift heavy, I want to train heavy, I need to eat as somebody who wants to do those things, and it's easier these days actually to have a lot of this information on the internet because there's so much information out there for anything you want. But at the same time, as you guys know, there's so much misinformation as well for everything that you're looking for, and that's one of the problems we have with anything on the internet. There's a lot of good stuff, there's a lot of bad stuff, and people sometimes don't know which one it is. And that's why they look for people like yourself, or maybe some of the people that I train, they look at me and they expect me to know, to have the answers for what they need, But I think it's important for people to what to take out of this is, yeah, you need to eat and fuel yourself for your performance that you want to have. That's definitely one of very important thing,
That's something that Alex, who Daniel, at my gym, Alex has recently, I think probably fair to say in this last year, she's really turned a massive corner and connected. She's eating to fuel her training, and she's a strong woman now, and she's fantastic. She's lost quite a lot of weight, but she's maintained or increased her strength across everything, and she moves better and she feels better.
Oh, she looks great though.
Oh yes, and certainly for the sort of the traveling events, the kind of the yokes and the farmers walks and the kind of the more, when it's as many reps as you can do in a minute. I mean, a minute doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're like you just did last weekend, when you're deadlifting 160 kilos as many times as you can in a minute, you get to like a point where they shout 15 seconds left and you think, oh my God, can I carry on? So working like that really requires a lot of fitness. But no, it's great. I was going to ask as well, I wanted to touch on this because the last person we had on the podcast as well, John Gibb, Highland Wolf Strength, he had this kind of shed of strength, didn't he, Pete? That was really fantastic. That we got like
it was amazing. He was so happy to show us as well, wasn't he? He was like, "Oh, look, I've got this."
So we had a little tour of his shed, of these. But you train exclusively at home, don't you? I think, and you've got, you've got everything that you need there, like you say, to train. How did that happen for you? Were you previously training in a public gym or a commercial corporate gym? And did you decide, well, actually, the way I want to train requires specialist equipment and I can do this at home? What was the decision to train at home, and what do you see the benefits are, and what are the negatives, if there are any negatives to training at home?
So, okay, being a Strongfirst instructor, right? The first thing, most Strongfirst people, they start with kettlebells, right? So when I first moved here, I moved here for my wife, by the way. Definitely coming from Italy, I didn't move here for the weather. I moved here because of my wife.
I was going to ask you the question: how did you end up in Barrow? But now we know. So
yeah, I met my wife on the cruise ship, and funny enough, I met her on the cruise ship in the gym.
Ooh.
So the gym has a massive, importance for my life, both for myself and the way I met my wife. So.
And your wife she's a singer, isn't she? Is that
she's
right?
a singer, yeah. So she's a singer. She still goes on cruises to sing now and then. And she's going on another cruise actually 2 weeks from now. We go to Nottingham for my powerlifting competition, and then I'm dropping her at Manchester so she can go on a ship and sing. So we both get to have our own, let's say, pleasure. I enjoy a comp and she enjoys the cruise, and here we are.
Yeah.
So going back, as I was saying, being a Strongfirst with kettlebells, I moved to England and I placed a big order of kettlebells to arrive at home. So I bought like everything in pairs up to 32, and then I bought 36, 40, 44, and 48, which I had them at home. So I trained for a while at home. And I was training in a commercial gym as well. That's kind of when I started touching the barbell a little bit more. Again, that's around 3-4 years ago. So again, a lot of my training, guys, just so you know, and people to know, I haven't trained for many, many years like this. I've only been like proper into strength, like 4 years, 3 years with the barbell, like properly. You know, it hasn't been that long. So you can achieve a lot of things in a short amount of time if you really, really want that. Okay. I think it's important for people to know that not everybody is going to be world class, but you can be better than average, as Peter said before, you know.
I think it's also important to know that 4 years isn't a long time, because some people think like 6 months is a long time. It's like 4 years.
Oh my
is
God,
nothing.
definitely
Yeah.
not. No, definitely not. In 3-4 years, you are still a beginner, you know. That's why when you do trainings for people, usually 3-4 years, you're still a beginner. 4 to 8, you're like intermediate. And then you start to be a bit more advanced, but not an expert, you know, like after 10 years. So it takes a lot of time. So I've been training at home and then in a commercial gym. And then we decided we wanted to buy a house because we're living in a terrace house. So we wanted a garage for the house so I can have my own training place and coach some other people. And the house viewing, actually, the first thing we'll look at any house we'd see was the garage. I was like, okay, I don't care about living. Show me the garage. See how the garage looks, how big, how nice it is, you know? So we found this house, which we love, and it had a perfect garage. You know, it was nice, insulate, like perfect. And my wife, I told her from the beginning that I want to have my own place to train, you know, and she said, okay, fine. Actually, one of the first thing I told her was that I'll be a Strongfirst Elite at a certain point, and then that I will have my own place to train. And that's since we've been together, she knew these things and she supported me into achieving them, you know. And that's another thing that's very important. Have somebody that actually believes in the things you want to do and supports you and allows you to travel, to spend the money on this stuff. And that makes a big difference as well. Regardless of the journey you are, you know, if you're trying to get stronger, lose weight, gain weight, whatever, it's important the person that's next to you as well, because they need to understand what you want to achieve, what you're going through, you know. And if you have somebody that they keep eating, I don't know, let's say you're trying to lose weight, but all they buy is Doritos and Pringles, and it's kind of setting you up before failure. You know, it's very hard to do that. So it's very, very important to have somebody that actually understands what you want to achieve there. Sorry, that was another parenthesis. And yeah, then the garage was perfect. So I had a bit of money saved and I just decided, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just invest some money. I think I was £2,000, my first investment, a squat rack, some barbells and some weights. And I had all my kettlebells already and that was it. And from there, pretty much every month I would just buy something else.
And do you train people face to face in your home gym, in your garage? Do you do online training? Do you do a combination of both? Or
no, I prefer the human element of things, to be there with people. You can see much better what they do. You can I wouldn't say have more control of it, but you can definitely deliver a better experience in terms of performance, okay? Especially when you coach deadlifts, bench press, squats, strongman movements. It's very important to make sure that they get the most out of their technique, you know, because not everybody is the same. You have the same cues and the same standards, but everybody's so different that you need to have a good eye to see, you know, what's the best for that person. So yeah, I have a couple of people that they come and train and they just love it. Everybody just loves being here, and I love having them here, you know. It's just amazing having a place that it's so close to my home, which is actually my home, you know.
No, that's excellent. That's really, thank you so much for coming on, Daniel. It's been absolutely brilliant, you know. And
thank you. It's been an honor to have me, you know. You have so many amazing guests that I just did not expect anything like this.
No, it's lovely. It's great. No, and it's been really, really, really lovely to just hear your journey and hear the you know, like the progress and the level of strength that you've gained in really probably like the last 5 years. You know, within 5 years where you've got to is amazing. And like you say, you've got a powerlifting comp. Is it in a week's time or something?
Yes, so that's gonna be not this weekend, the weekend after. And then I'm going to have a bit of a break. This year, I've been to the Arnold as well. Actually, that was one of my first strongmen. I did the Arnold Expo. So next year, I'm going back again, and I'm going to try for a top 5 placement. That's my goal. So all this winter, I'll be training really, really hard for that.
And is that the one that you went to when there was about 10 people competing and you came kind of?
No, that was actually, I did quite good on my first Arnold, which was 200 kilo deadlifts for reps, which was quite hard. So I managed 7. We were 18 people and I came in 12.
Ah, excellent. Okay.
So hopefully next year we can go for a top 5.
And where will that be? Will that be Birmingham?
That would be at the NEC in Birmingham.
Yeah,
If they have another expo next year, because you never know if they do or not. So we'll have to wait and see. And Alex, she's also waiting for me to tell her if they do, because she's very interested to come.
Excellent. No, it's been great to talk to you. It's been anything, Pete, as we wrap up. I think that's been lovely, isn't it? Really, just having a chat.
It's just it's been really good. It's I mean, that's like, you know, working on a cruise ship and getting into strength. I mean, you know, that's a story, isn't it? We haven't had that one yet. So there you go.
No, that's great. Thank you so much, Daniel. I mean, and we've got probably, I think, next week, because I've just had a quick look. We've had five weeks again of guests. That's gone really quickly again. So we've had 5 more weeks of guests. So maybe next week, Pete and I will have a bit of a catch up and have a bit of a chat. And then the 2 weeks after that, we got Helen Hall coming on again, and then we've got David Walsh, who is Sitting Bull UK, who's the I think he's 2 or 3 times world's strongest disabled man in his class, isn't he? Sitting Bull.
And he won Britain's like half a point over Panda Chandler, didn't he? And
he won the Britons when we were there. But he's competing at the Birmingham NEC at the start of November, so it will have already happened by the time this comes out. But he's competing there at the Worlds, along with lots of other sort of friends of the show. So no, that's brilliant. So no, thank you so much, Daniel. That was absolutely lovely talking to you, and hopefully, you know, we see each other at some stage in person again, maybe at a kind of comp or something down the line, you know, or an expo or some kind of course or weekend or something would be brilliant. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you. This is episode 221. Next week we'll be back with episode 222. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. We're really trying to get reviews on Apple Podcasts, and then we'll read out your review online and send you out some free merch, either a t-shirt or a hoodie. So yeah, we will be back next week. Probably, I think, just Pete and myself, unless I line someone else up. But then we've got a couple of weeks after that with guests lined up already. Like I say, 22nd of November today. We are moving towards Christmas special territory. Okay. We will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com, or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.